Greetings, everyone. This is Payman, your host of the Leaders Out podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, a really good friend of mine that I've known for quite a few years. We were working together, living together, not together, but in the same city back in Hangzhou, China, a few years ago when I was in China. We connected too because I host events. She's also a connector. We met at events and we kept in touch. And out of the blue, we just reconnected a couple of weeks ago and in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I had no idea that she was here, and vice versa. And it was like, wow. So we reconnected. It was awesome to reconnect. And I told her, hey, listen, I want to bring you on the podcast because I know your story. You have a wonderful story. You have a beautiful heart. And that's the kind of message, that's the kind of people I want to showcase so they can really inspire others. So a little bit about her. Her name is Oleksandra from the beautiful country of Ukraine, from Kharkiv, right?
Exactly. Wow.
Good,
You
good
remember?
memory. All right. So yeah, she's been an expat. She's been an entrepreneur, a powerful entrepreneur, networker, connector, empowering other people. What she does, she's basically making women happy and make them shine like the
Yeah.
beautiful diamonds that they are through our services or products. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. So without any further ado, Oleksandra, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. It was really a magic that we reconnected again, and it shows that actually the world is such a big village because I'm coming from China, you came all the way from Canada, and finally we met in Kuala Lumpur out of blue, as you said. That is really a magic. And thank you so
Exactly.
much for having me. It's really very interesting experience, and I would like to share my story if you find it interesting, and just to share the experience. I think it's beautiful. Thank you.
Listen, pleasure is absolutely all mine. And we've known each other for a few years, but now I really want to get to know you further better as a human being at a soul level. And that's what my podcast is about. I want to have a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart, to have a heart thought conversation, hence the name Leaders with a Heart. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Of course. Let's try to.
All right. You were born ready, right? All right. So tell us, first of all, Oleksandra,
Yeah.
what are you excited about today? What makes you happy today?
Wow, what makes me happy today, not only today, but for the last couple of days since I'm staying here in Kuala Lumpur, it makes me happy that finally in my heart and in my soul and in my mind, I make the decision clear for myself that I'm moving from China to Malaysia. It was not an easy decision, I might tell you, because I spent in China 8 years of my life, already grow up with a lot of friends, a lot of business connections. It was my home, really. When people were asking me, where is your home, back in Ukraine or back in China, it was always a little bit confusing for me because everywhere. At least small piece of my heart was in Ukraine, small piece of my heart is in China. Now small piece of my heart is in Czech Republic, where my parents are temporarily staying because of war and everything that is happening in Ukraine. So it was not an easy decision for me, I might tell you. It took me a very long hours and hours before I go to sleep, to rethink everything one more time. If I really have to do it, maybe finally not to move, maybe finally stay in the familiar place. But I think that 2 days ago, finally I made my decision, and it's that kind of easiness
Relief.
that you have, on your heart, when it's like such a big thing is moved out, and now you feel so light. Yeah, I'm of course, I have to confess, I feel a little bit scared because it's a new way, it's a new page of my story. Of course there will be some difficulties, I'm not afraid of that, but yeah, of course there is a couple of fear right now, but it's a good fear, that fear that I'm ready to accept. It's an exciting fear.
Yes.
But yeah,
Awesome.
but if answer your question, I think that today and tomorrow and yesterday, I was happy because of that, because I'm very happy finally to make the decision and move on.
Indeed, sometimes when leading up to a major decision, we all stress ourselves, we all play in our head all kind of scenarios. And at sometimes it ends up even further confusing you. But finally, when you make the decision, you feel like all the weight of the world is removed from your shoulders. You feel very relieved. I know I've been there. So absolutely.
Exactly.
But we'll talk about that later on. But now let's first get to know you better. So for the people who don't know you, tell us, who's Oleksandra as a person, as a human being, not as a business person. We'll talk about your business later, but as a person, as a human being, who's Oleksandra?
Oleksandra, well, as a human being, as a person, it's a Ukrainian woman who is happy, who is a little bit impatient, and I'm working on that. And it's a curious person. It's a curious woman, and curious not only about the outside world, also very curious about inside world, because I've been working with psychologists and everything for a couple of years. And right now, when I discover my path for the couple of years later, I see how it's interesting to discover a new personality of yourself. I don't like the phrase of working on your personality, because I don't find that it's a work. I find it's a interesting journey, because we change, and it's interesting how our attitude to life events is also changing. So yeah, me as a person, it's a happy, fun, and curious woman, a little bit impatient, and who loves to dance, let's say.
Beautiful, beautiful, awesome. Now, I'd like to ask you a series of fun, rapid fire questions to further get to know you. Ready?
Oh my God, of course. Let's try.
All right. Now, what makes you happy as a person, generally speaking?
Everything. I don't know. It's like my happiness doesn't really depend on something, on some things outside. It's just. I think that we are responsible for our own happiness. So everything makes me happy. It's I can see I can walk on the street, see some cute child, and I will be happy. I can send a couple of dollars back to Ukraine to support our army, and it also will make me happy because I contributed a little bit. So everything makes me happy. It's I don't know, to see you today makes me
thank
happy.
you. Same here. Same here. Thank you. Sweet of you. Now, what makes you smile?
Blue sky in the morning. You wake up your eyes, you see, especially here, because you've been living in China. Sometimes we don't see a blue sky for a long time, and it's very important.
Yes.
It makes me smile when I see an email from my client who is saying that, oh, we have a very good sale, so let's make another order. To see my mom on a video call also makes me smile.
Absolutely. Now, let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart come alive? What makes your soul set on fire in a good way?
You said that we will move on to a business point of conversation a little bit later, but I have to bring it's because it's not only my business, it's what exactly when you say what makes your heart on fire. That's exactly what I'm doing, because when I have a problem with a product or with some kind of process of my job, and it's a problem that I have to solve, that makes my heart on fire, because I have a task and I use all my skills, all my I don't know, knowledge, all my desire to resolve it. And that makes me oh my God, it's I'm having a task, let's make it. And for me, it's not oh my God, another problem is coming, why everything cannot be smooth and successful. No, it makes me fire. And another thing, because I really love to dance, I really love studying tango, and sometimes it's not easy, but when finally I see my progress, when finally I can make some moves done, that also puts me on fire.
Absolutely love that.
In a good way, in a good way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
What makes me sad and angry? You know, it's a very hard question, because what makes me sad and angry? Angry, probably, I don't say that I have like this a strong, okay, yeah, we all are humans, and sometimes basically it's depending on interpersonal connections, you know, when you have a relation with a person, and finally he makes something not really honest and fair things to you, and you didn't expect it from him, because you have like personal connection, personal feeling, that can make me sad, disappointed, and sometimes angry as well.
Absolutely. Yes, I hear you. Now, what scares you?
Snakes.
Why?
I'm sorry, that is true. It's especially before, when you sent me a picture of that creature that you've seen on a
Like an iguana,
on a
like a
road.
big
Yes,
iguana. Yeah.
that scene, when I'm swearing to you, when you send it to me, I was ready to pack my things and say bye-bye, because
Wow.
yeah. But to answer your questions directly, yeah, on a basic level, that's what I'm afraid. On like more spiritual level, I'm afraid that I will not be able to help my family and my friends when there will be a chance to help, but I just can't. Maybe because of financial, or because I'm just not there. You know, because after 3 years in China, when we were closed in a country that we couldn't leave, and something can happen with my family where I actually can help if I would be there, but I could not be there. So that makes me sometimes it makes me scared a little bit.
Can imagine. Wow. Now, what would you say is your
And
number?
losing of my freedom as well, because that makes me
absolutely.
scared as well.
Absolutely. That's paramount. That's the most important for me. Freedom is most important thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that is also one of the points why I'm moving, because you know, it was a very terrible time in China after these 3 years. No freedom. So
yeah, exactly. I hear you. I've lived there for 4 years and a year in Hong Kong. I've seen how things have changed. And yes, even though I had a good experience, fun experience, but it's time now to turn the page and look for a new chapter, for new opportunities and new all that. Awesome. Now, Oleksandra, what would you say is your personal superpower?
well, I don't want to sound very expert or something like this, but I think that my personal superpower is ability to read people. You
Okay.
know, of
Wow.
course, I'm young, and sometimes it's a lack of experience, but it's that kind of intuition feeling that you feel when you see a person, and I almost immediately can know if I can work with them, or I cannot work with them. And another superpower is that I trust my inner feelings. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's not comfortable. But I really do trust them, and I do believe in it. That everything that comes from inside, that comes from a heart, that comes from a soul, it's the most important and the most truth thing.
I totally agree with you, and that's one of the most hidden secrets of life and world that we always told and taught from the time when kids to ask guidance from others, whether it's parents, teachers, God forbid, government and whatnot. While what we need to do is look inside, because inside you get connected to source, universe, God, whatever you want to call it. And when you have a hunch or gut feeling, you know that your gut feeling is basically your soul speaking to you, and your soul has two purposes: to keep you safe and alive and protect you, and to guide you. So the more we can learn to not to first listen and then follow and trust that gut feeling, that whatever you want to call it, the soul talking to you, the better off we will be. And that's one of the most powerful lessons I learned over the past few years since I've had my awakening. So I'm totally with you on that. Totally.
Exactly. Inside, we have answers to all of the questions. We just forgot that we know. We forgot because of all of the, as you say, because it was a lot of years of this experience when we were listening to other people and didn't listen to us itself. So we forgot about that. But inside, we have an answer to every question. So
Yeah,
just sometimes it's scary to listen to yourself.
You know, because we are more than just our physical body. The physical body is just a temporary vehicle. We are eternal beings having a temporary physical experience. And when we're born here, we forget about who we really are, all our infinite being, which is the soul access connection to the source, the universe, the God, whatever you call it. We don't remember that. And then once we come here, society brainwashes us to even further forget that. So it's when once you reawaken that, once you ignite that and get back in that touch, say, wow, there's more to life than just my little physical being, physical body here. I'm much bigger than that, you know. Awesome. Beautiful. Let's move on. Now, you love traveling, do you?
Yeah, of course. That is also what puts me on fire, as you say.
Yes.
And I love to discover, I love to travel. Absolutely true.
All right. Now, I want to take you to a different type of traveling down memory line. Go back to when you were a young girl growing up. You know, people around us, family, relatives, friends, teacher always ask us, so Oleksandra, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer as a young little girl, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, to that question?
Oh, believe me, I have an answer to this because when I was exactly 5 or 6 years old, we were celebrating my birthday, and my parents had like a camera, and so they recorded this event. And one of the questions were from from someone of guests, like whom you want to be and what would you want to have. So my answer from 6 years old me was like this. So I want to be a woman who lives in a big house, having 5 Lamborghini cars. I don't know.
Even as a 5-year-old? Is even a 5-year-old? Oh my God, Olesksandra. Wow. Okay.
I already knew about that. I don't know how. And I have a lot of how to say, like mates and people who help me in my house. So then another question was coming that how would you like to achieve all of that? You would like it just come to your hands from nowhere, from a sky, from something, or how would you like to achieve it? And my answer was like this: no, I want to achieve it by my brain and by my skill. I was 5 years. I'm swearing to you, that was a dialogue. When I saw it, like last time when I celebrated my birthday, my parents put it on the recording on the TV, and we were laughing, watching it. And when I saw this conversation, I was laughing so hard because 5 years old girl was saying something like this. It's crazy.
That's amazing. So maybe in a past life you were a princess, or Caesarina or something like this, that you had asked all of that, and you remember that. Okay, that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, now let's stay to when you were a kid. What was your relationship growing up with school? Did you love school or hate school?
Most of the time I loved school. Well, let's say that it was a super ordinary public school back in Ukraine in a small city, so it was nothing special. Most of the time I did love school. I was a good girl in a school, let's say, who like studied well and everything. So you might call me a little bit maybe boring, but on the other hand, I was always tending to have more fun with guys, with boys. We were playing, we were like doing some tricks, everything. So that's why some girls didn't really like me. And sometimes it created some conflicts between me and them, especially when you were like a teenager, 13, 14 years old, you know, this kind of age. But in most of the time, yeah, school was fun. But right now, honestly, I don't really keep in touch with my schoolmates, unfortunately.
Okay. Growing up, what was your favorite subject in school?
I really like Ukrainian literature and
Okay.
even till now, and history and chemistry. These three.
Interesting. History.
Yeah.
What part of history did you like more?
Well, it's because of the Ukrainian, how to say, education system. We put like maybe 80% of attention to Ukrainian history, and only 20 to like everything else, you know. So for me, I dedicated more time to Ukrainian history. So it's basically everything about our country. But even right now, you know, I remember how much knowledge I had that time, and by this year, after like almost how long it like 13, 15 years since I graduated, you already forgot so many things.
Beautiful. Yeah, I can imagine. I also loved history, geography, because I'm just curious about the world. And yeah. So
yeah, geography. Actually, geography I also like a lot, but it wasn't my favorite subject in the school, but it was because of my dad. He once bought me a book about it. I even remember the name was Capitals of the World. And then our hobby with him, when he took me to school, and on our way he was like, okay, tell me the capital of this country, tell me the capital of that country, you know. We had this kind of game. So yeah, so every time when I didn't remember the capital, or I just don't know the or I just didn't know the capital, it made me like, you know, so much, not angry, but like so much eager to come back home and to read about that country, to remember the capital. So next time I will not lose to him.
You know, that's funny because I used to do the exact same thing with my father. My father was a geologist, archaeologist, always traveling around the world. And one of the gifts he gave me that I loved the most was, just like you, a geography book in French, learning about the name of the countries, capitals. By the time I went to, and that's when I was 3, 4 years old. So by the time I went to school, I knew most of the cities and all that. So absolutely, wow, that's amazing that we have this connection. That's awesome.
Yeah. We are on the same page here.
Yeah, beautiful. Now let's move on forward. What was your very first job?
My very first job. You mean like a full time, or even just
whatever?
something?
The first time you started working and you started getting paid, even part time, whatever.
Okay, I understand. So my first money that I received, it was from teaching English to a woman back in Ukraine.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a complete how to say, adventure, you might call it like that, because I put my advertisement on some internet portals that, okay, I speak English, I can have classes. So she called me, and it was already like a woman, maybe 35 or 38 years old, and she was going to go to the States to marry an American guy with whom they met like on the internet or something. So, but she couldn't speak any English. And then she asked me, okay, can you speak English? Can you teach it? I said, yeah, of course, no problem. Then she asked me, did you have experience of going to the US? I had no experience of going to US. I've never been there.
Did she ask you? Did she ask you if you had any experience of dating American men too?
No, that was not a question, but she asked me
No,
if
no,
you've been
joking.
to America, and I said, yeah, of course I've been. I've traveled. I lived there on a work and travel program, everything. And then she, where have you been? And that second, the only state that came to my mind, it was Texas. So I said, oh, I was in Texas. And then she said, oh, my man is also from the Texas.
That's
So
awesome.
I was like, okay. And then she said, okay, you're hired. Come, you will be my teacher. I want you to be my teacher. So then I come back home. I read everything what I could find in the internet about Texas.
So wait. So you haven't been to the US at that time, right? You didn't go.
No.
Oh, so that was a sweet little white lie. Okay, I see.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I confess right now to all of your listeners, and maybe even to that woman who may
Well,
be
as
listening
long
to
as she
us.
was happy and she get to what she wanted at the end,
Yeah,
she'll be
then
okay, you know.
so then we started. I was her teacher. It was a very good time, and she really loved the classes. I tried to make them interactive and teach her something. So right now she is happily married to a guy. She's living in the US, probably Texas if they didn't move. So I might say that it was a success. And yeah, that was my first job where I actually got money from.
Do you remember how much you were getting paid for that job?
I believe that time it was like 150 Ukrainian hryvnia per hour. But I don't remember what was the rate, you know?
Okay.
So I cannot tell you. Maybe, but that time maybe it was like, I don't know, $20-$30.
How old were you back then? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. I'm sorry, but it was already after the 2014 revolution, so probably it was already like 24 hryvnias for $1. Let's something like
Okay.
this.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So now the
Yeah,
question.
but that was a job that I got from a small, sweet little lie.
All right. Okay. Texas is waiting for you, you know?
I'm coming.
All right. We'll talk about that after. Okay, that's awesome. Now, let's move forward. You know, there's a saying that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we tell ourselves inside our head all day long. So when you're Oleksandra, when you're at your lowest point in your life, how did you change your story internally to change your life externally? And by that, did you do it to the help of friends, family, books, podcast, videos, mentors? Tell us the process you used to change your story internally so that you can change your life externally.
Well, you know, I think that what changed me internally, so I start to move externally, as you say, it's probably because of the feeling that I always wanted to have better life and more independence, because I'm coming from a like ordinary family, not some like a super rich family with a lot of resources and everything. Yeah, of course, my parents were trying to give me the best education and the best life circumstances that they could provide me with, but it was nothing like super special. So I understood that if I want something more, I have rely only on myself, because they are not able to just give me something beautiful, something very, very, very luxury. So that was all. This feeling was always driving me for further actions, like to move to another country, to find a job, to not be an English teacher because I don't like it, and that was not make me happy, and just to drive me to do something more. So it's not really like a book or a conversation or something. It's always coming from inside feeling that I want better, I want more, I want better, and I want to share it with someone else. So
beautiful.
I don't know if it's an answer to your question,
Yes,
but
yes. You know, there's no right or wrong answer. What it is your answer. That's your story. So You answered it beautifully and in detail. You know, we could do an entire episode just on what was life growing up in Ukraine. That's something, a topic that would be very interesting. Maybe not today, but another time,
Mm-hmm.
because that could be an entire, we can do an entire episode on that. I'm always fascinated to learn how the environment that they grew up with, because the environment they grew up with shapes who they become, shapes their drive, you know, and who they end up. So that's something that I could
Of
probably do an
course.
entire podcast just on that alone. But anyways, thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned leaving Ukraine to moving abroad. So tell
Yeah.
us, what was your first experience? When you left Ukraine, where did you go?
Well, if we, I started to travel. If we don't talk about I started to travel outside of Ukraine in a pretty grown-up age.
Mm-hmm.
My first travel, it was like 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That time it was to Thailand with my mom,
Oh,
just
wow.
for sightseeing. Yeah, it was my first travel like outside of Ukraine, and straight to Thailand. And then after that, my next I was on my third year of university in Ukraine. And since I was learning Chinese in the university, I
Ah,
decided to go to China for like half of the year to improve my language. And I found a university back in China. And then I went to China by myself already, without mom or anyone. And that was my first trip by myself. And you know, when right now I look back, I was 19 years old, 6 months alone to China. And it happened like 10 years ago. And if you remember, 10 years ago, it was internet. We had already internet, everything, but there were not so many information about
not the
like
convenience and the
university. But
apps of today.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Exactly. We didn't have like any WeChat or WhatsApp. Okay, maybe we had the WhatsApp, but maybe it only started or
WhatsApp
something.
started in 2011, WeChat probably 2012.
Yeah, but that
And
was not
yeah,
like super widespread, because I
yes,
remember that when
yes.
I was going to China, we had with my mom, we had like a setup time for Skype, you know, every day at
Skype and
this
QQ.
hour.
They used QQ before,
Exactly.
you know? Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Something like this, yeah. So it was not so convenient as right now, when you can call like anytime you want. So then it was 6 years or 6 months in China. Then I come back, and
Where in China?
then
Sorry, the first time you went, where in China did you go to?
I went to a city called Tianjin. It's near
Okay,
Beijing.
okay,
So it
okay.
was on the north. I had the best time of my life over there, and I think that is what it was also a point why I always wanted to come back to China, because I had such a good time over there. I met wonderful people. I saw, uh, I I experienced this life abroad, and it didn't scare me, but I really love it. So that was my first words when I came back to Ukraine to my father. It was like, I want to come back. I want to go back to China. I will do everything what I want. And my
Wow.
father told me, okay, firstly graduate and then do whatever you want.
Yes, yes. Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So then when I come back from China to Ukraine, then my, how to say, the real university life started, because I started to participate in various and different kinds of students events, usually abroad. Like we have a
Mhm.
project event, gathering, whatever you, how much you want to call it. I was a member of a lot of students union abroad, so we always like gathering somewhere, having some projects. So it was beautiful. Then I started to travel quite a lot.
Wonderful. Now, let's backtrack a little bit. You mentioned that initially you took Chinese in school. What made you?
In a
What made?
university
Yeah,
already.
and as it goes, what made you decide to study Chinese in the first place? To go way back at the start, even before going to China, you know?
Yeah, of course. So when I applied to the university, my major was international relationships.
Okay,
And the university had like oriental direction. So
okay.
we had to choose our main foreign language.
Okay.
And they had 4 languages to choose. It was Arabian, Korean, Japanese, and Chinese.
Oh, wow.
So I had no connection to Japan and to Korea. And I was like, okay, where except of Japan and Korea, you can use it. I'm not a fan of this, how they call this Japanese cartoon, anime. I'm not a fan of that.
Anime,
I have no
yeah,
idea about it. A lot of my schoolmates choose Japanese because they were in love of this anime scene. I had absolutely no connection to that. Korean as well. Arabian, I was like, woman learning Arabian, what for? So then Chinese, it was like, because everything else was not good enough, so I had a Chinese.
So, and then you the first time you went to China was Tianjin. Did you select that city, or was that where university had the contact to send you?
Oh, because that time, as I told you, that time we didn't really have that much information about
Okay.
China as we have right now. So I had one student from my university who've been there already, and she recommended it to me. So it was just because of someone's recommendation. If that would be right now when we have so many information, maybe I would choose something different. But that time it was because I had zero information. So that was the only information I had.
So how was your first reaction when you landed in Tianjin? How were your first few days, few weeks? Was that like landing in a completely different universe, not even planet, Because that certainly was the case for me,
Believe me, that was one of the experiences that I would never forget anytime, because, okay, I landed to Beijing airport. I managed to find the bus that is going from Beijing to Tianjin directly. I even managed to catch a taxi to come to the university. And I have to tell you that when I was going to China, I already had some level of Chinese, of course, and I was thinking, oh, I will
easy
feel
peasy, yeah.
fully. Yeah, it would be a super easy. I can speak English. My Chinese is already okay, not fluent, but okay, no problem. And then when I landed, I understood that I understand nothing.
And they understood even less,
And they understood even less. So I was like, okay, that would be interesting.
Adventure, bring it on,
Yeah, so then finally I managed to come to university, and I went to admission office, and I said, okay, this is me, I came. They knew that I was coming, and they said to me, oh, that's beautiful, but our dormitory is already full, so we don't have a place for you. And I was like, okay, but I booked it. And they say, I'm sorry, but it's full. And I said, okay, then what is my options? They said, now you can live in a hotel. But it was that time it was not by a scholarship or nothing, so I paid for that, and my budget was not, was not so big to pay for a hotel.
Sure.
It was just good to pay for the dormitory, but not that much big to pay for the hotel. I said, I'm sorry, but I don't have that much money. They said, I'm sorry, then our dormitory is full. Like, bye-bye.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So I'm on my first day. I'm tired. I'm scared. There is no mama, no papa to help you. On the other hand, I was even happy that they were not there, because then
they would freak out even more,
Exactly. So that I remember exactly my feelings, that I was going out from admission office. Here was my luggage. I sat on stairs, and I was like, at least it's warm outside, so I will not be cold during the night,
Always look at the positives,
yeah. So I was like, okay. And then from somewhere it comes to my mind that that my friend who recommended me this university, she also mentioned to me one time that there is another university just behind it.
Oh, so you went to the wrong university?
No, I went to the correct university, but they didn't have a place for me finally. So then I said, okay, maybe I go to that another university and ask them if they're willing to accept me. So I went to another university. I was just knocking in the door and I said to them, hello, my name is Oleksandra. I came to study Chinese. Can you accept me, please? And they said, yeah, okay.
Welcome.
So that's how in one day I changed universities.
Wow.
And yeah,
What
and
a story.
when I told this story to my Chinese friends, you know, they were freaking out because they said, but you cannot just knock on the door to university and ask them to accept you. I said, well, sometimes you can, sometimes you don't have another option.
You know what they say in China? TIC. This is China, you know? They make their own rules,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
For good and bad.
exactly. So that was my first day in China, like that.
Wow. I mean, that would be honestly, that would be we can do an entire episode just on that, but also that could be the topic of a book, you know? That's amazing.
Yeah.
My first day in China in comparison was very lame because I arrived in Hangzhou after flying from Toronto to Shanghai, took the bus from Shanghai to Hangzhou, and then I arrived there, got to the hotel. I met a guy, Italian guy, was also in my company. Went to eat to a restaurant in downtown Hangzhou. Of course, we don't speak Chinese, don't even have a SIM card yet. The menus are all in English, sorry, in Chinese. So I wanted some chicken. So you really have to think outside of the box and you know and make things happen. Especially when you have to eat, you will become so creative that you cannot believe it. So I said chicken. They didn't understand. So what did I do? Pak, 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 pak. I just did the sign, the symbol of that. My buddy wanted some crabs. So how did he make that? So for some reason, for some way, he managed to convince the waitress to give him a pen or a pencil. So he took a napkin and he started drawing on the napkin a crab. This is how we get the food. And then for side dishes, you know, in China, sometimes you just stand up, you go around and you point, ting, 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 what people are eating. Because when you gotta do what you gotta do to eat, you know what I mean? So that was my first evening, first day in China. But nothing, I mean, yours is completely way more adventurous. So that's good. Wow. Thank you for sharing it.
No problem.
Yeah, no, China was fun. So you stayed 6 months in Tianjin, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then after Tianjin, you went back home. And then after that,
yeah, I went back home. I graduated from my universities because I was studying at two universities back in Ukraine the same time.
Wow.
So I graduated from them, finished my studies back in Ukraine completely, and then I applied for a master degree here in Hangzhou. By that time, we already had internet with a lot of information about China, with a lot of opportunities and everything. So I applied for scholarship in this university. I chose this particular university with this major that was suits
what
me
made
perfectly.
you choose what made you choose Hangzhou and not, for example, Shanghai, Beijing, or Shenzhen, or Guangzhou, or any other big cities?
Because Hangzhou had the Zhejiang University that by the time the only university in China, they had a program in law for foreigners that was taught in English. So because I didn't want to study this, usually foreigners take in China major like Chinese as a second language, teaching Chinese, you know, this and but I never wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to be like a full translator or full linguist. So I wanted to study something different, and this major was a perfect for me.
Okay, wow. So you actually studied law in Hangzhou. Wow, that's amazing.
Exactly, yeah.
So
but in English, not in Chinese.
So did you complete that program? Did you graduate?
Yeah, of course.
So you can practice as a lawyer in China?
Foreigners have some kind of limitations about that because we cannot be like a full attorney. We cannot be do any notarization in China because for that you need to be Chinese. You need to have a local ID. So as a foreigner, you cannot do that. But what we can do is that we can represent your interests, so be like a lawyer. And most of the foreigners, they work as a consultants in a big companies, you know, so you work as a law consultant and everything. That is possible. But if you want to be like an attorney, or if you want to be to do any notarization procedures. That is not possible.
So you could, for example, either work for a Chinese law firm, or you can become partner
In
with a
a
Chinese lawyer, and then that person takes care of helps you with whatever they need, and you take, for example, you can help foreigners, with anything legal in China.
Yeah, in most of the cases, for example, how my schoolmate, he was studying together with me and I graduated. I didn't want to continue my study anymore, but he went for like a doctoral and everything. And right now he's working in a company who is helping foreigners if they have any kind of law problem in China. So he represents the interest and everything. And another way, it's you can work in a foreign company and be the consultant to deal with all of the Chinese law procedures in China.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't know
like
that. I'm impressed because I almost went to law school myself in Canada, but a book changed the direction of my life, and it took me towards the path of entrepreneurship. But I understand studying law in any country is not easy, especially in China with all the restrictions on top of it. So major congratulations, major kudos on that. Wow, well done. Well done.
Thank you.
I don't have my chapeau, I'll say chapeau, I'll do it in person fast. Anyways, wow.
Okay.
Then after you completed that, how long did you stay in Hangzhou?
8 years. All my time in China, it was always in Hangzhou. I had a couple of suggestions to move to Guangzhou, to move to Shanghai for work, but finally I never took them. I do love Hangzhou too much. And life in Shanghai and life in Guangzhou never really attracted me because it's a huge cities, it's a nice cities, it's a cities with a lot of opportunities, but I don't like this speed of the life over there because it's crazy. You need to be like I don't know,
all
you
the
need
time.
to you need to move all of the time. And me, I'm a girl who to have some standard life level. And I understood that to have this level of life in Shanghai, in Guangzhou, I would have to work like crazy. And I never really wanted to be like that much crazy.
No, I can imagine. I'm with you on that. I also, yes, I do enjoy no. I hear you because I lived in most of my time in Hangzhou, but I also lived in Shenzhen. I visited Guangzhou and Shanghai. Yes, those cities are fun for a weekend or for a vacation, but to live, no. Yeah, and I agree.
It's too much different. I always enjoy life I always enjoyed visiting Shanghai. I have a lot of friends over there. I had a lot of friends over there. Now they all left. So it was always fun for a weekend. You have so many different options. It's actually Shanghai is not even, it was not a Chinese city by that time. It was so much international city. Right now it changed, of course, after coronavirus. But it was always so fun. But I never wanted to live there because you have to stay in a line for everything. You want to go to a restaurant, please stay in the line. You want to go to a museum, please stay in the line. You want to go to the toilet, please stay in the line. It makes me crazy.
I hear you. Yeah, I enjoyed that part of Hangzhou, despite not being a small town, it's still being a big city. You could get anything you wanted pretty much right away. That's
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Wow. And then after Hangzhou, so now the next chapter is, sorry, before we talk about the next chapter, tell us now about your business. What are you doing now? What are you building? How are you making women happy and shining like the bright diamond they are?
Yeah, so long story short, after my graduation, I had a job in wine business. That's how I believe we met for the first time, because we were at the same industry in China. But I didn't work for a long time over there. And then I had an opportunity to work in Ukrainian company in China, who had their representative office exactly in Hangzhou. And my job responsibilities, they were to be responsible for the makeup production in China for this company, because company itself had like 3 makeup brands that they produced in China, and they needed someone who would represent and who would control all of the processes in China for the product production. So that's how I started to be connected with the beauty industry, and I really loved it, and I got so many experience because it was I do love makeup products. It's my passion. I can touch them, I can see them all day long. Put me in the room and I will not bother you for a week. So that's what I loved, and it gave me so many experience of how to work with the factories, how to search the factories, how to work with the product, how to work with the Chinese managers, how to make them understand what you want, how to be sure that your product would be exactly as you want and not something else, how to bargain about the price, everything. How to check the quality, because I was responsible for I was responsible from 0 to 100 for all of the processes in China. So then I was working in this company for like a year and a half almost, and then one day I had a crazy idea that why I don't do the same but for my own client.
Bingo, exactly.
So then maybe I did the notice to my company, and then in a couple of months I resigned, started to do it on my own, opened the company in China. And then Corona started. Welcome. Yeah, it was the best time to start a business, exactly business in this kind of industry. But anyway, of course, there were a lot of days when I was ready to give up, when I was ready to say that, okay, it doesn't work. It's so hard to find the client. Plus, it was a time when people didn't really want to invest into something new, to develop a new project, to develop a new brand, because it was a business situation like that. Yeah. But finally, I didn't give up, thanks to all my family, thanks to all my friends who supported me, who said that do you feel that it's the right thing to do it, we will support you. And then, with the time, now it's getting better and better. I'm having clients, I'm having new opportunities, and basically my job is that I work with the business companies. It's not B2C, I work B2B, and I work with the companies, with retailers, with distributors, who there are 2 ways. So first way, it's that I'm your agent in China, and I make sure that you find the exact product that you need, and that product would, on the finish, it will be exactly what you want. So it's called OEM production. The second way of cooperation is that I have a couple of Chinese brands, skincare brands and makeup brands. They are Chinese brands. They are very good. A lot of people are afraid of Chinese products, that it's a bad quality or something, but it's not like that. It's Chinese have a very nice and very interesting products and very interesting lines and brands. So another way of cooperation is that I distribute them to you, and then you can sell it on your platform, either online or offline. So there are 2 ways of cooperation. And right now I want to enlarge my business, and now I'm coming to Malaysia because they also have quite nice brands and quite nice cosmetic production factories here. So now my service will provide not only production in China, but also in Malaysia.
Beautiful. So that's a perfect segue. So what made you choose Malaysia in the first place when you were in China and looking for a new place to expand or to go?
Well, it was because I definitely didn't want to live in Europe. I love Europe a lot. I love spending my time there. Yes. I love to visit. I love to discover. It's like you are walking on the museum. You know, you don't even
Yes.
have to go to the museum. You can just walk on the street and feel like you're in museum. It's beautiful. I love it, but that's not the place where I can live.
Mm.
That's the first. Then of course I couldn't I didn't really consider Canada or States because I've never been there, so you know that would be too much hard to
What
move
about Texas? Texas is waiting here, you know?
only in my imagination.
But you know what?
So
The
that would,
magic lies in the imagination, you know?
yeah, so
Yeah.
that would be too much complicated. And I always loved Asia. I've traveled so much in Asia, and I feel very comfortable here. And Malaysia was a very comfortable for a lot of reasons. First of all, because still my big part of my business is staying in China. So Malaysia has the same time schedule. So
And
it's
very
very
close too.
comfortable.
Yeah.
It's very close, so I can travel whenever I want. Then Malaysia also speaks English and Chinese, so I feel
Yes.
very comfortable here because I speak English and Chinese, so I feel very comfortable. And the fifth or the fourth and the most important point is that because I've been participating in a lot of makeup and cosmetics exhibitions before, and I already knew that Malaysia has some quite interesting production here. So I knew that there can be some business opportunities here because other countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, they're not so they don't suggest you such a big variety of business opportunities in my industry, in my field. But Malaysia do has. So that's why.
Beautiful. Yeah. I
So
agree
that's
with
a
you.
very nice combination for me for comfortable life and also business opportunities.
Absolutely. The quality of life here in Malaysia is absolutely second to none, you know, in every aspect. And the people are nice, friendly, people speak English. It's civilized, internet is good, it's safe. So it ticks all the boxes for me and for pretty much most people that come here. So I can see that. So now you're working towards fully relocating to Malaysia now. What's your time frame?
Well, my time frame is that right now I'm setting up an office here. It's already done. We are working on like just the formalities right now, and then I go back to China to prepare all of the job for my assistants, for people who will help me to manage it in China while I'm in Malaysia. And then hopefully my working visa will be ready in March or early April, and then I'm coming here.
Oh, exciting, exciting, awesome! I'm super
Yeah,
happy for you. I'm cheering for you.
I'm very excited. Yeah, and I do hope that there will be a good business opportunities here, business development, and I'm happy to help anyone who needs my assistant, who needs my
Awesome,
help, who needs my services.
awesome. Speaking of that, how are you getting your clients?
Oh, for this way, I'm using a very traditional way. Uh, I'm just searching in the internet, big retailers change, or I'm searching for local brands because I don't work with the big brands like Chanel, Dior, this kind of things. So
Yeah,
first of all, usually they have their own production sites, or they work, of course, they work directly with the factories. So I usually work with small local brands that are usually not like internationally famous. So I'm just searching them, I'm contacting people, I'm telling about my services, I'm telling that I can help you to make your product better or cheaper for you, so you can get a bigger margin. And
sure.
let's create a new project, or I can recommend you another brand to your portfolio. So I'm using a very old style
Good,
business
good. Hey, it
cooperation, but it
works.
works because in my industry it really works because in my industry people are usually like sitting behind the laptop and checking their emails. It works like that. And another way, it's exhibitions. I go
Yes.
to the exhibitions, I participate them, I recommend my services. People see my booth, they're coming, they're asking, and it's very comfortable for them to have someone whom they can trust,
Absolutely.
to be there and to control the process of the production, so they know exactly what they get on the finish, you know.
Absolutely, yes. Which countries, which market are you mostly targeting for your clients?
Yeah, so on the beginning, of course, I was targeting countries where people speak mostly Russian, because it's very easy for them and for me for the communication. And right now I'm targeting more Europe and America. That's my next step, and I'm very excited and a little bit scared, because it's already next level of business, and I do hope that I will have a good cooperation with them. That's my target, and that's what I'm working right now on.
Beautiful. So when you say Europe, are you mostly focusing on Eastern Europe, Western Europe,
Right
or
now,
both?
West Europe.
Okay.
Right now, mostly West Europe. Yeah, that's my. I'm working already with East Europe, and now my target is work with the West Europe.
Okay, beautiful. That's amazing. I think you're doing a wonderful job. You're providing a beautiful service for these companies, because you basically you're their eyes and their ears on the ground. And these smaller
Exactly.
companies, they probably cannot afford that. But if they have someone that they can trust, that has their best interest in mind, then of course you're the answer to their prayers. So this is a big,
And
big,
I
big
love the
opportunity.
yeah, and I do love the product. You know, it's like
That's
because
important,
during
because you have to be passionate about the product. That's important.
yeah, because during the production you have a lot of small problems here and there. You cannot even imagine how much sometimes it's something that you couldn't even imagine that you can have this kind of problem. So I don't want my clients to bother about that, so I'm dealing with all of that. Of course, we are still staying on the same page. They are fully acknowledged of everything what is going on, but that is my responsibility and that is my pleasure to resolve all of these problems, because it's interesting. It's always interesting to find a way how to resolve this puzzle, you know. So I do love this product, and it's always nice for me to see something new coming, some new product, and I'm immediately making pictures, send to the client and say, do you want it, do you like it? They say yes, let's make it. So that is nice.
That's amazing.
Some more women will be happy, some more women will be even more beautiful than they are already. Hence, their man will be happy, because if woman is happy, man is happy.
Absolutely. It's a teamwork, you know, it's not
exactly.
I'm happy, you're happy. As a team, we're happy. This is how it works. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. Now, let's move forward. Let me ask you now listen, I can talk to you for hours. You have a beautiful story, very fascinating, and we'll definitely do that next time, bring you back in a few weeks. But for now, let's wrap things up. And to finish, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Oh my God. Okay.
All right. So, Oleksandra, what would you say has been so far the best piece of advice that you've received?
Okay. It was just happened a couple of days ago, and I received the advice that really a little bit changed my mind, that where a person told me, if you're afraid something, don't go to that fear, take care about yourself. If you're really afraid of something, don't make because right now we hear so many things like, okay, if you're afraid something, go to your fear, conquer your fear, something like that. But sometimes it makes you so much stressed and so much uncomfortable that it just doesn't worth it. And we have to take care about ourselves, about our inner feelings, about our emotions. So and there was one woman who told me, take care about yourself. Why do you need to do that if it really makes you that much uncomfortable? You should take care about yourself. And you know, I even stopped for a minute, because that was completely different from what I've heard from all of this Instagram and everything. So this is a
You know, that's a very interesting perspective, and I agree with it. Yes, I agree. You know, that's interesting. Now, on the other side, now, what has been so far the worst piece of advice that you've received?
Maybe the thing is that I don't really often ask for advices. So
Oh, okay, okay. But sometimes people give them to you without even asking, you know what I mean?
yeah, because that is another thing. Yeah. What was the worst advice? I don't know. Maybe there is not such a thing as a worst advice, because I just don't listen to them, and that's it. Really, I'm sorry.
No,
I
no,
just, it just goes through your mind, and you're like, okay, I didn't even ask for your opinion, so let's not put it
next.
even into your head. So yeah, next. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go
Yeah.
back in time and sit face to face with the 18-year-old Oleksandra. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to her knowing all that you know now?
18 years old.
18, 1 8.
Okay, 18. um, I would tell her that, please, under any circumstances, don't even think what other people are thinking about you. Don't care about that. Because at that time, I was very much obsessed with the idea what other people will think.
Making other people happy, yes, while they don't
Yeah.
even care about you. I agree. I agree.
Not even make them happy. I was like, oh, if I do this thing, what other people will think about me? And it was absolutely not, doesn't worth it. Don't think what other people will think about you. Do what you want.
Yes. Follow your path. Agreed. Now, do you have your own podcast?
I did had a podcast with my friend in China. It was Russian speaking podcast because we were targeting like Russian speaking audience. It's my very best friend from Kazakhstan, and we had like maybe one season of podcast about living in
Wow.
China. Then we stopped because we were so much busy with a job. She is doing online marketing services. She's also having her company. Very beautiful, very bright, very inspiring woman. And right now, maybe we will restart it because she is moving from China to UK. I'm moving from China to Malaysia. So maybe it will be a podcast about our reflections of life. Is there a life after China?
Love that. Love that. Absolutely. And I'm cheering for you now.
Thank you.
Welcome. Now, imagine that you add your podcast today, and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, and that is yourself. You're interviewing yourself. What is the first question that comes to mind that you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind?
Well, then if it's the first question that asks to your mind, then I will not be very special. I would ask if you are happy. Are you happy?
And what would be your answer right now?
Yes.
Awesome. Beautiful. Now, wow. What would you say is a cause that you're deeply passionate about? This podcast is all about doing good, inspiring entrepreneurs, and making the world a better place. What would you say for you, Oleksandra, is a cause that you're very deeply passionate about?
You mean in my business or in my life?
Both.
Both? Well,
A
then what
cause,
I'm
a
passionate about
purpose.
is
Yeah.
I am very much passionate about to deliver my job good, to
Mhm.
make my client happy, to make their client happy, because it's a team's work. So that is what makes me happy, because if they are happy, I am happy. Then my factories are also happy because we continue working with them. So this is to deliver my job well. That's what
I
triggers
agree.
me, that what pushes me to do my, and
Mhm.
because I love my job. It's not something that I never was like, I was always hate. I even can tell you this word, hate. I hate to
Mm.
work like from 8 to 6 and like, okay, after 6 p.m. I'm out. I don't care about my job. Not at all. I'm having a chance to have like a free schedule. I can start whenever
Mhm.
I want, but I never finish because I don't care if it's 6 p.m. or it's 11 p.m. or maybe it's already 2 a.m. and my clients are not sleeping because of the time difference. I'm always there and I'm happy to be there.
Awesome. Love that. This is important. Now, the last question I ask is probably my favorite question to ask, and that is,
okay,
what is the smallest thing you've done, both in your life and business, has had the biggest impact for you? For example, for me, the smallest thing that I've done that has had the greatest positive impact in both my life and business has been starting my podcast. What about you, Oleksandra? What would you say has been the one thing that you've done that has had the biggest impact, positive impact in your life so far?
I think that it was that morning in that was I remember it very clear that I was waking up when I was working for that Ukrainian company, and there was a morning when I woke up and I had a thought, I don't want to go to an office. And I understood that that is a sign. It was the first time in my life because I did love my job because it was so, first of all, I love the product. Second of all, it was interesting for me because I was learning so much from that. But then it was one time, it was the first time when I had this thought, I don't want to go to the office. And then I knew that there is a time to change something. So I don't think that it's if you ask me what is like this small thing that started all of the process of changing your life, then it was this thought in my head that I don't want to go to the office. And it was so scary and so depressing. I don't want to have this feeling anymore. So I knew that there is a chance to, that there is a, I have to change something.
Beautiful. And from the moment you had this vision in your mind, how long did it take you to actually act on it, to actually tell the company, your boss, hey, guys, I'm moving on?
Maybe like 3 months.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
3-4 months, yeah, because I was then I came back home. I had a conversation with my cousins. They both are entrepreneurs back in Ukraine, work for their own companies. So I do respect and I do need their opinion. I was talking with them, should I resign, should I start, should I try to do it on my own? And they said to me, do it until you have like someone to be responsible for, like a kids, family. Then it's, of course, it's much more harder to make this kind of decisions. And they say, you right now, try, do it. So
yeah.
Then I was talking with some of my friends in China, also successful businessmen, successful entrepreneurs. So like adding it up, it was like maybe 3-4 months until the decision was like fully complete, and I tell about this to my boss.
And speaking of that, how did your boss react when you told him?
He was very like calm down. He said to me, is there any problem in a company? Maybe you are not satisfied with something, maybe there is something not comfortable for you. Let's talk about that. Let's try to resolve this problem. I want you to stay. You are like, he loved my he was satisfied with my results and everything. I told him there is absolutely no connection with job, with colleagues. I love everything. It's just I want to move on. So that's it. There was no conflict, no like. It was a very nice and beautiful ending of our working relationships.
That's important. That's beautiful. Listen, Oleksandra, absolutely amazing talking to you. I get to learn more about you in this conversation and all these years together, because I get to have a beautiful heart-to-heart conversation. You're welcome. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Anything, email, WhatsApp, WeChat. I'm open to everything. I can give you all of my contact details.
Yes, please.
You can post it. And,
I will put them in the show notes. Yes, I will put them in the show notes. Yes. So listen, Oleksandra, I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. You have a beautiful message, beautiful heart, great vision, and you're a wonderful friend. So pleasure's all mine. It's been
so beautiful to be a part of your podcast because I briefly have seen what have you done, with what kind of people you are talking about, and honestly, I am very much. I feel very special to be one of them. You know,
Pleasure's all mine. Honestly, it's
because you.
been listen, it's been a gift reconnecting with you because I was wondering about you, and now we reconnect out of the blue, and now having you back on the podcast. Sorry, not back, having you on the podcast, getting to know you deeper. That's something that is special, that is cherished. Because you have and I'm happy and I'm grateful that you did not hold anything back. That you really open your heart on the podcast, not only to me but to my audience, to really get to know what a beautiful human being you are. So
I
thank you
hope
for that.
it's interesting for your listeners. I hope that they will not be tired or bored by
No, why
our
would you say that?
conversation.
You know,
Thank,
no,
thank
no, no,
you.
no.
Thank
No,
you.
it's
Yeah, and there's one more time I was so pleased because I've seen people with whom you were talking about, and they achieved so much. They're great entrepreneurs. They're great people, and I'm one. You invited me as well, so for me, it's like to be a part of some exclusive group. I thank you so
yes,
much, and thank you for your
pleasure.
time.
Pleasure's all mine. So listen, I salute you. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your impact, with your smile. Keep making your audience, your women happy and shining like the bright, beautiful diamond that you are. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, and have a safe flight to China and waiting you back here in KL. Take
Of
care.
course, of course. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine. Bye bye.
Bye bye.